Happy Tuesday, everyone. This is Emmanuel for History and Coffee with our On This Day series for April 2nd. Today we are talking about April 2nd, 1863, when the largest in a wave of food riots by women in the Civil War South took place in Richmond, Virginia, which was the Confederate capital at the time. These women demanded that Confederate leaders do more to help the people they claimed to lead secure the basic necessities of life. Historian Stephanie McCurry argues that the Richmond food riot, quote, puts to rest all questions about Confederate women's political ability. As shocking as it surely was to many, what came out in court testimony was indisputable evidence that the riot on April 2nd was a highly organized event, planned for at least 10 days, and, despite widespread assertions that it was instigated by men, that it was, in fact, the work of Mary Jackson, soldier's mother, farm wife, and huckster in meat in Richmond's Second Market. Mary Jackson and about 300 women planned and pulled off the biggest civilian riot in Confederate history. The Richmond riot offers a stunning portrait of poor white women's mass political mobilization. End quote. Indeed, the Richmond food riot was expressly political. Jackson and the women she led demanded to speak with the governor and proposed a government pricing scheme to finance food supplies. In understanding action taken by Confederate civilians against Confederate leadership, it is important for us to take their political action seriously. We must not let our own views on the political legitimacy of the Confederacy take away from the strength of their assertive action. They demanded action from Confederate leaders because they believed the Confederacy was a valid political entity with full nation-state functionality. They demanded better because they cared about the futures of themselves, their children, and those of their partners who were fighting in the war. When Confederate leaders failed to provide them with food, they failed to provide for the very people who made up their national body of people. If they could not sustain their people, then they could not sustain their state. This adds to the military failure of the Confederacy a social and economic failure. It was not just a failed military group, it was a failed and dysfunctional society. This case also shows that women fully participated in the violence of the Civil War South. As they violently ransacked local businesses in Richmond, they demonstrated the firmness and urgency of their demands. McCurry emphasizes that, quote, for a good 2 hours, they wreaked havoc on the streets of Richmond, targeting known speculators, smashing their way into stores with hatchets and axes, looting at gunpoint, and loading stolen goods onto wagons they impressed on the street. At least 12 stores were looted before the public guard was called out and, threatening to fire on the rioters, managed to quell the activity. End quote. Indeed, just as women fully participated in the violence of slavery in the antebellum American South, they also fully participated in political violence and social unrest. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you will join me again tomorrow for the next edition of our On This Day video series.